Hi, it's Andrea from Prairie Sky Paper Crafts here today with another How Do I Use It tutorial. Today we're going to be using the watercolor pencils. These were one of my very first purchases and I absolutely love them. I use them constantly and they're never far from my desk. I keep them in a container with the supplies that I need. Typically, I use them with the blending brushes, or the blender pens, I should say. You can also blend the color with either the water brushes or Wink of Stella, which will give it a little bit of glitter and glitz. I've stamped my snail from the Snail That Stamp set already. It's stamped and stays on. The reason that you need to use stays on is because it does not bleed when you apply the water to it. And I stamped it onto the Stitched So Sweetly die. I loved it because it looks like a postage stamp. Okay. I've picked Basic Gray, Rich Razzleberry, Pacific Point, which is this one, and Night of Navy to color my snail. And you don't have to be terribly particular with how you're coloring. I'm just going to add a little bit of gray onto her. I do like to do circles though, because, sorry, my assistant is in my craft room wreaking havoc. I do like to color in circles, just because personally I find it easier to blend. And I like to start lightly at first and then go a little bit darker in the areas that I want to have shading. So for example, I'm going to go a little bit darker right here. And sometimes, not sometimes, usually on the stamp, you're given indicators as to where the shadows, and that would be just by the lines that are given. And I'm going to do a little bit darker here. All right. Okay, so I'm going to come in with my blender pen and I'm just going to give her a color. And also for this, I like to go in circles as well. And if I'm not content with how it's looking, I'm just going to go back and you can build up the color. And you can see that the pencil lines are starting to fade and it's starting to blend. I just love how fluid they are. And as you're picking up the color, you can just see how it's moving around. A piece of advice with this is not to go over the same area too many times, because if you do, the paper will start to pill. For this, I'm using just the white cardstock. You can also use the watercolor paper or the thick white cardstock as well. Okay, so she's finished. Now I'm going to do her body with the Rich Razzleberry. And I'm going to just color in. And it is important to wipe off your color from your first pass before you pick up another color. If I'm working in the same color family, I'm not too worried about it. Or if I'm working on something that it's not as important where the color definition is, I tend not to be as concerned about wiping it off, but I always wipe the color off before I go ahead and put it away for the day, because chances are I'll forget and I won't have it done for the next time, and then I'll have, I don't know, dark green where I need light pink. Okay, so then where the lines are, I'm just going to darken it a bit. I don't know, do any of you have critters who come into your craft room and craft with you? I've got a huge window and a bird feeder just outside. So Bailey likes to come in frequently and sit on my desk while I'm crafting. Okay, so blender pen. And then I'm going to start just on the outside and do small circles. And I'm skipping the lines for now, because as I'm going and blending the color, my brush is picking up additional color. So when I go back to certain areas, it will already have the color on the pen tip and it'll be a little bit darker. So I don't have to work as hard. And I'm just going to add just a little more color there. It's kind of light. And the blender pens take very little time to dry. It does make your paper a little bit wet, but it takes no time at all for it to dry. Okay, and then I'm just going to let it dry for a second or two, get the color off of my tip, and I'm going to color the pen, the parcels on top of her back. And then I'm going to go back and add a little bit more depth with the rich razzleberry. Okay, so I'm going to do this one on top. And I'm not going to be too picky with how the gifts are done. I'm just going to add a few lines of color there. Grab my blender pen, and I'm going to start at the top, color this one. And then I'm not going to clean off my tip, and I'm just going to go into the second one. Okay, that's dry, and I'm just going to go back and add just a little bit more color onto the lines. And a bit of shading and shadowing here. There we go. Okay. There's that one done. And I'm just going to add a tiny bit of Wink of Stella. This is the clear. And I'm just going to add a teeny tiny bit, just her eye. And it adds just the tiniest little bit of detail and shine. All right. So that is how you use the watercolor pencils. If you have any questions, please comment below. If you're in Canada and would like more information, you can visit my online shop, or you can email me at prairieskypapercrafts@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. See you soon.